Hello. Today, I just wanted to talk about indie games and their overall just kind of importance to gaming in general. Now, I know a lot of people like to um, throw out that, you know, pay more attention. Not really pay more attention, but they, you know, focus, I guess you could say, is oh, look at this big AAA game. Look at this big, you know, which is fine. Again, nothing wrong with big AAA games. Well, there's plenty of them I love. I love a lot of games, obviously, but you know, I think sometimes just with an indie game, sometimes it's just kind of the best to just dive into one and just, yeah, who knows, maybe you'll find your next favorite game, you know, who knows. Um, it's kind of what I almost did with Hollow Knight, and I never really played many Metroidvanias beforehand, but there was I remember just kind of getting Hollow Knight. I think I you know hear it's pretty good. And I like the art style, like the character design, all of that. But that game kind of got me into Metroidvanias more and more willing to try out that genre essentially. Of course, I'm really looking forward to Hollow Knight Silksong. It's one of my most anticipated games currently. But yeah, I think indie games are very, very important because you're not having the big games come out constantly. Not even having like the big indie games come out constantly because there are indie games that are a little bit more high profile, big titles, obviously, but you because once there's a really cool indie game, then that developer or whoever gets a following, and well, that's just the way things go. Um, it's kind of another thing. Like I kind of like looking at not necessarily studios, but like who's involved with certain games, who's um, like I always really love paying attention to when a game has a soundtrack done by Austin Wintory, and that was thanks a lot to playing Journey and just adoring that game's soundtrack. That game is just so good. The visuals, the art style, the music, just everything about that game is just so good. And there's been quite a lot of other indie games since then that have drawn inspiration because, well, Journey was kind of a hey, indie games. I mean, there's been indie games before that were big, but indie games can, despite not being a particularly long game, because Journey isn't that long, obviously, where you can play a game and you can enjoy it just as much or more than a big budgeted AAA game. That doesn't necessarily just go to indie games. It goes to those kind of more mid-tier games as well. But and the way gaming seems to be going right now, they're seeming to kind of blur the line there about what exactly is indie, what exactly is the mid-tier, which is an interesting thing. I'm kind of curious how that seemingly is going to go, but you're still going to have your normal, you're still going to have your indies, you're still going to have your small games and all that. And yeah, I just really tend to like trying to pay attention to indie stuff because sometimes they do really neat stuff with it. You know, sometimes indie games can take more risks. Sometimes they can just not have to worry about being constrained to having to, we gotta have it like this in this set time, blah 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 blah. You know, this is the kind of formula that works. You know, they don't. Indie developers don't really adhere to that. They just kind of focus on making something creative and good, and I respect that. And yeah, so where I think, I do think a service like Game Pass or the new PlayStation Plus or things like that are really good for smaller indie games. Getting people to play them and getting more exposure, because it's because the more exposure a game gets and more people like a game, the more people play it, and it just keeps building and building. And again, sometimes there are indie games that just instant smash success. And then you have those games where it's a bit of word of mouth. And you get kind of builds up over time and it becomes popular more down the road because, well, sometimes there is a bit of luck involved because you could have some indie game that came out 3, 4, 5 years ago and some like big YouTuber or streamer will play it and then all of a sudden the game shoots up in popularity because, well, but and the same thing goes for a lot of things. If it sometimes there is just kind of a little bit of luck involved, but again, I kind of like looking when I look at a game, and if it interests me, sometimes I look for like, is the art style cool? How's the music sound? What kind of game is it? But what are the mechanics? What's the kind of feel they're going for, or whatever. Which I think that's a lot of things, really, that I like just looking at, saying like, oh, what's the indie game that's out right now, or what's indie games, I should say. But they, I think, do kind of a good thing of where indie games kind of make it go like, you're not gonna run out of games to play because there's always something. There's always some new indie thing. There's new whatever it is to play, and you don't really get bored because of it. And again, a lot of indie games are done and some kind of go for more of that emotional feel, some go for just kind of this grand adventure type thing, some go for your in a whatever. But yeah, I think it's kind of one of those things I would love if more indie stuff was played and made more, just more common for people, I guess. I don't know if I'm not coming up with the right term I'm trying to think of here, but yeah, there's just a lot of stuff I think that, there's some indie stuff I feel like that people completely missed out on, and I'm like, like I remember playing, as you see on the screen, these aren't just, one of my favorite indie games, it's kind of just different games, but on the screen, you see the game Rain. I remember on the PS3, I remember seeing that game and be like, oh, that looks interesting, you know? I played it and I really enjoyed it, but I've never heard anyone really talk about it that much. Like, I know obviously other people have played it, but I don't know, maybe I'm just not looking in the right places people played it, but I thought it was kind of an interesting little game. I don't know. Then again, I really like Rain in general. It's just something I like a lot. But so I remember also playing a game like The Unfinished Swan, where I don't even remember like how I think I just saw it and was like, oh, it looks cool, and then I played it and just really got into the whole painting all over the world thing, and yeah, and then I obviously really dug What Remains of Edith Finch, which is also one of those games that storytelling is definitely a thing that people should focus on in games, because the story of What Remains of Edith Finch is really good, and I like how it's told, going through all the different past family members and all that good stuff. Then you have games like Limbo and Inside, which are just simple, side scroll, go through, and just don't stop, basically, gameplay. And as you go further on, you kind of unravel certain things, and, Inside especially. Limbo is more about don't get frustrated with certain parts of the game because, well, yeah, but yeah, I think there's obviously a market for indie games. Lots of people love playing indie games. I don't know. I just kind of wish more and more people would play them, because there's really cool, interesting stuff that's out there that I think, again, like I've always said, there's always a game for everyone. I know I mentioned this in the last video I did, but there is a game out there that is for everyone. But not one individual game is particularly made for everyone, if that makes sense. Like, there's a game out there for everyone's tastes and whatnot. And again, like I said, like with Hollow Knight, I never really played Metroidvanias much before, and Hollow Knight was just kind of the gateway for me for that. And yeah, and again, like I said, I'm looking forward to Silksong on that. But I think that's the other thing, is like, indie creators, I think, deserve more, well, praise is the right term I should use, but more recognition with their work. And there are some indie creators that obviously are massive success, and a lot of people know them, like say Toby Fox with Undertale, or I forget his name, but like Five Nights at Freddy's, that was just kind of a massive success, and again, that was kind of one of those things. Bunch of YouTubers played it, and it got successful, and there was tons of more FNAF games that came out, and lots of them came out, and yeah, but eventually that kind of got oversaturated, but that's beside the point. Still, indie games can be a massive success for them. A lot of people really tend to like Team Cherry a lot. Those couple of Australian dudes. Loved the first Hollow Knight. Then you have some, indies that are made by a bigger group of people. Again, team like Giant Squid, or that is their name, the Pathless and Absu people, which are an offshoot of that game company that made Journey and Flow and Flower, I think, are the 3 games. But yeah, indie games are important. They're important to kind of be as a one balancing thing for the big titles that are coming out and all that. And they're important to kind of show that not every game is like certain cookie cutter AAA games that are just kind of the same thing over and over again, which is fine. If people like them, that's fine. But because again, there's a market and game for everyone, you know. But yeah, I think because indies like to keep it fresh, and I would like, it's wishful thinking, but I would like for more AAA developers. There's some, like, it's kind of a reason why I like Yoko Taro so much. Not because it's like, oh man, it's funny, and oh, he makes some really sad games or anything like that, but I like Yoko Taro because he likes throwing lots of different things into his games. And I mean, most of the time it works. So, but again, I just like when game developers just kind of just have an idea, do their idea, and more power to them, whatever it is. But whatever, no matter what kind of game it is, walking simulator, Metroidvania, a normal adventure game, a top-down shooter, a game where you have to pick a certain color in order to get through certain levels, get through certain doors on it. That would be Hue. Or a game like Thomas Was Alone, where you have to use your little team of shapes and whatnot and get through puzzles and whatnot. And yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that's out there, and I think people should just look out for more indie stuff. But anyway, so before this goes any longer, again, like, comment, and subscribe if you want. If not, that's cool. And yeah, until next time.